Welcome back to another in our series of the great chapters in the Bible. Our chapter today comes from the Old Testament book of Ezra. Ezra chapter 7. Ezra sets his heart to study and teach. Now after this, in the reign of Artaxerxes, king of Persia, Ezra, the son of Seraiah, the son of Azariah, the son of Hilkiah, son of Shallum, son of Zadok, son of Ahitub, son of Amariah, son of Azariah, son of Meraioth, son of Zeruiah, son of Uzai, son of Bukai, son of Abishai, son of Phinehas, son of Eleazar, son of Aaron the chief priest. This Ezra went up from Babylonia. He was a scribe skilled in the law of Moses that the Lord, the God of Israel, had given, and the king granted him all that he asked, for the hand of the Lord his God was on him. And there went up also to Jerusalem in the 7th year of Artaxerxes the king some of the people of Israel, and some of the priests and Levites, the singers and gatekeepers, and the temple servants. And Ezra came to Jerusalem in the 5th month, which was in the 7th year of the king. For on the 1st day of the 1st month he began to go up from Babylonia, and on the 1st day of the 5th month he came to Jerusalem, for the good hand of his God was on him. For Ezra had set his heart to study the law of the Lord, and to do it, and to teach his statutes and rules in Israel. This is a copy of the letter that King Artaxerxes gave to Ezra the priest, the scribe, a man learned in the matters of the commandments of the Lord and his statutes for Israel. Artaxerxes, king of kings, to Ezra the priest, the scribe of the law of the God of heaven. Peace. And now I make a decree that any one of the people of Israel, or their priests or Levites in my kingdom, who freely offers to go to Jerusalem, may go with you. For you are sent by the king and his 7 counselors to make inquiries about Judah and Jerusalem, according to the law of your God which is in your hand, and also to carry the silver and gold that the king and his counselors have freely offered to the God of Israel, whose dwelling is in Jerusalem. With all the silver and the gold that you shall find in the whole province of Babylonia, and with the freewill offerings of the people and the priests, vowed willingly for the house of their God that is in Jerusalem. With this money, then, you shall with all diligence buy bulls, rams, and lambs with their grain offerings and their drink offerings, and you shall offer them on the altar of the house of your God that is in Jerusalem. Whatever seems good to you and your brothers to do with the rest of the silver and gold, you may do, according to the will of your God. The vessels that have been given for you the service of the house of your God, you shall deliver before the God of Jerusalem. And whatever else is required for the house of your God, which it falls to you to provide, you may provide it out of the king's treasury. And I, Artaxerxes the king, make a decree to all the treasures in the province beyond the river. Whatever Ezra the priest, the scribe of the law of the God of heaven, requires of you, let it be done with all diligence, up to 100 talents of silver, 100 cores of wheat, 100 baths of wine, 100 baths of oil, and salt, without prescribing how much. Whatever is decreed by the God of heaven, let it be done in full for the house of the God of heaven, lest his wrath be against the realm of the king and his sons. We also notify you that it shall not be lawful to impose tribute, custom, or toll on any one of the priests, the Levites, the singers, the doorkeepers, the temple servants, or other servants of this house of God. And you, Ezra, according to the wisdom of your God that is in your hand, appoint magistrates and judges who may judge all the people in the province beyond the river, all such as know the laws of your God, and those who do not know them you shall teach. Whoever will not obey the law of your God and the law of the king, let judgment be strictly executed on him, whether for death or for banishment, or for confiscation of his goods, or for imprisonment. Blessed be the Lord, the God of our fathers, who put such a thing as this into the heart of the king, to beautify the house of the Lord that is in Jerusalem, and who extended to me his steadfast love before the king and his counselors, and before all the king's mighty officers. I take courage, for the hand of the Lord my God was on me, and I gathered leading men from Israel to go up with me. If you think education is expensive, try ignorance. I saw that on a bumper sticker many years ago, and I've never forgotten it. I'll spend the next several minutes trying to convince you of the benefits of learning. But in the end, I will admit that this bumper sticker said it all. That's not going to stop me from trying. Nations, states, districts, cities, towns, and the tiniest of classrooms all fundamentally believe the same thing. Education is a good thing. It is like the rudder that steers the giant ships. Such a small thing, but it guides the vessels nonetheless. Now, how to accomplish that task, that's another story. But the education of the masses rests in the hands of a few individuals, for better or for worse. What we really hope is that it is the better, for the future depends on this. The results won't be seen immediately, but over time the merits of that teaching will reap what was sown. Ezra, the son of Sariah. Well, let me stop right here and alert you to the importance of the first 5 verses of this chapter. Do not skip over these verses. Doesn't that sound a lot like some of the teachers you and I have had? Those who know me know that I am rather fond of pointing out the genealogies in the Bible as they occur. Yes, I tend to harp on these rather a lot. But the Holy Spirit has inspired these writers to record these names. And like a good teacher of history, a timeline is established. There are 16 generations recorded that reach back 1,000 years to Aaron, the first high priest of the nation of Israel, recorded in the book of Exodus. Now, understand that there are more than 16 generations in this list. But in the realm of Hebrew history, to say that you are a son of someone may in actuality mean that that man is your grandfather or great-grandfather and so on. Much in the same way that someone might say they are sons of Abraham, even though they are separated by many generations and not a little time. Are you beginning to yawn yet? Have I lost you? Have you already turned the page or skipped this video altogether? Well, that's unfortunate, but it is to be expected. You see, it has always been that way. Remember when you were young and all you wanted to do was play? Well, while you and I were out playing, people like our doctors, our professors, our presidents, and professionals we count on to perform so many of our daily functions for us, they were inside studying. All that work they put into reading, studying, discovering paid off in their accomplishments. Now, that's not to say we didn't put in our time, but we didn't have the drive many of those listed had. But that's okay. Not everyone is a Rhodes Scholar. I wonder what little Ezra's friends were doing all the while that he was unrolling and re-rolling scrolls of the books of the law. All those countless hours when he sat at the feet of the rabbis listening intently. Maybe they were playing. Maybe they were slaves to their Persian masters. Yes, those whose hearts they were preparing for a life of work, play, servitude, or some other avocation were unaware that their friend, their neighbor, their fellow Jew in exile was to become one of the greatest scribes in the history of their nation, in the history of the world. Now we're told in Ezra chapter 7, verse 6, this Ezra went up from Babylonia. He was a scribe skilled in the law of Moses that the Lord, the God of Israel, had given. And the king granted him all that he asked, for the hand of the Lord his God was on him. Do not pass over this saying, for the hand of the Lord was on him. This phrase, the hand of the Lord or the hand of God and so forth, is found several times in this book. In chapter 7 alone, it's found in verse 6, verse 9, verse 28. And in chapter 8, it's found in verse 18, verse 22, and verse 31. But it is also found elsewhere in the Old Testament. In 1 Kings chapter 18 and verse 46, and the hand of the Lord was on Elijah, and he gathered up his garment and ran before Ahab to the entrance of Jezreel. And we find it again in 2 Kings chapter 3 and verse 15. But now bring me a musician. And when the musician played, the hand of the Lord came upon him. And yet again in the book of Ezekiel, Ezekiel 1:3, the word of the Lord came to Ezekiel the priest, the son of Buzi, in the land of the Chaldeans by the Kibar Canal, and the hand of the Lord was upon him. Ezekiel uses this expression several times in the book, chapter 3 and verse 14, and again in verse 22 of that chapter, chapter 8, verse 1, chapter 33, verse 22, chapter 37, verse 1, and chapter 40, verse 1. Now, how many have I lost in this short devotional now? Well, now I come to one of perhaps my favorite verses in the entirety of the Bible. It's taken me 50 days of devotionals of the great chapters in the Bible to get to it, but I finally made it. Ezra 7:10. For Ezra had set his heart to study the law of the Lord, and to do it, and to teach his statutes and rules in Israel. Hundreds, and I mean hundreds of times, I have read this passage, literally. But what did Ezra have that I don't have? What did Ezra have that we all lacked? Listen closely, for I'm only going to say this several times. He doesn't have anything that you and I couldn't have if we only had the desire. That's all he did. That's all he did. All he did was set his heart to study. Now, isn't that easy? Well, for just 10 minutes a day, you could be like Ezra. Don't fool yourself. 10 minutes a day is precisely why we will never be like Ezra. No, this is not a hobby. It's a lifestyle. This is a vocation, not an avocation. This is a burning desire in the heart, not a fad du jour. This is all-consuming. It's more than a hearty amen to a bumper sticker that says, if you think education is expensive, try ignorance. It is rolling up your sleeves and getting to work. Do you think James says in his letter in the New Testament in James chapter 4 and verse 8, draw near to God and he will draw near to you? What are the implications of this? Would you like to know what it feels like to draw near to God and have him draw near to you? Wouldn't you like to know what the hand of God feels like upon you? It can't happen by giving your spare time to God. Think about what Paul told Timothy in 2 Timothy chapter 2 and verse 15. Be diligent to present yourself approved to God, a worker who does not need to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. Well, which did you find was easier to digest? The bumper sticker or my rambling? And Lord willing, let's meet here again tomorrow and look at another of the great chapters in the Bible.